Welcome everybody, Steve here. Today we're going to finish up a room that I started a long time ago with drywall. Now, I'm going to go through the whole process of hanging the drywall, and eventually we'll get to the mudding, painting. I want to finish up this room. It's a room down in the basement, and it's just been too long. I got to get it done. Just, you know, one of those jobs, right? And okay, I'm bringing you hanging drywall. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking that you fire 2 brain cells and you get it done, but you know, I've been in construction for a lot of years and I have seen some absolute nightmares, to the point where people have wanted to hire me to do the mudding, and I just simply said I just won't do it, because the hanging was done so poorly that it would just take so many hours. So there are a couple little tricks to hanging drywall, and if you follow those little tricks, it is really quite a simple little process. Now, of course, you know, I have some tools that are going to help, but there are ways around that, and I'm going to kind of show you what you can do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tackle this wall here. Now, I've already got the ceiling done. Now, if you're drywalling, if you got a couple buddies, go ahead. Most of the time I'm drywalling by myself. So that means that I have to somehow figure out how to get that drywall on the ceiling. And I have a lift for that. You know what? Go rent it. It really, really helps a lot. Now this one here, like a lift, you can use it, you know, vertically as well. You know, you put your sheet in, put it up against your wall, and screw it in. It'll help you do that. Or you can just use a little trick like this one here. We're going to start with this piece, and I've got it about 1/8 of an inch below 4 feet, which is a sheet of drywall, and we're going to be able to put it up there, lean it up there, kind of lift it up, put a screw in, and we're all good. But if you're doing the ceiling, even if you got a couple people, rent a lift. It's going to save your back, and you're going to have way more fun doing it. So these are some of the tools you're going to need to hang some drywall. Now I've got this is specifically made to screw in drywall. You know, the bit goes in and out, and it's just got an automatic dimpler, and I love this tool. You know, you can set the different depths that you need for your screw, or you can just go with a regular drill, but I would suggest buying a dimpler. It just makes life that much better. That way you don't overdrive your screws. That's a bad thing. The screws I'm using, 1 1/4 drywall screw. Now these are coarse thread. Fine thread ones are used for metal studs. So make sure that you get the right ones. You'll need a drywall file. You need this tool. Clean up your edges. And if you have to this will take it off quite quickly. So if you have to do a lot of shaving, this will do it quick. You're going to need just a regular Phillips screwdriver. In tight corners, if this doesn't get the screw all the way in, you need to tighten it up with this. Of course, you're going to need a pencil, sharp knife, tape measure, T-square. A drywall T-square, they're not that expensive. And this will save you a lot of time and actually give you a lot straighter cuts. A chalk line for doing the long cuts. You're going to need a drywall saw. And if you can, a little router zip like this one here. You can rent them. That makes life really, really easy when you're going around boxes. And other than that, one of the biggest things that you would need that most people don't have would be a lift. You can rent those if you're doing the drywall by yourself, or phone a couple buddies. Pizza and beer is cheap. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do before you do anything, because you always end up forgetting, is you want to mark where your studs are. You know, I know you think you're good, but trust me, it's a lot better knowing where that stud is instead of guessing, because you know, if you're leaning a little bit, you know, nobody can really guess where that is. So, you know where it's going to be on the bottom because you're going to see it. But up top, it really helps to have that little aid. Now, on this particular wall, I have my door is already installed. So I have to actually cut my piece of drywall to fit. But, here's a little hint. You're working in the basement. Now, if you've ever done a job in a basement, you know that they're nightmares because nothing is straight. Walls are never straight. When you're doing your baseboarding, that's horrible, horrible job. And you think that your floor is straight? No, not even close. Maybe in these modern homes when they got those really nice engineered joists, you know, your floors are pretty straight, but in my house I've got the old 2x12s or 2x10s, and they're not even close. I've got a scrap piece of drywall here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put it up. And you can see that if I were to screw my piece of drywall up, I'd have about a 1/4 inch gap, if not more, over here. And you can see that I got a really, really low spot right here. So all I'm going to do is mark that low spot, and then what we'll do, where are we at here? Yeah, that'll probably be fine. Maybe a little bit further yet. And then what we're going to do is take a little bit off of our full sheet to make that fit a little bit better. I don't want to try it on here. I'll try it on my full sheet. We can get it close. And don't worry about a little gap. You know, if you got a 1/4 inch gap, I'm going to show you how to deal with that. Okay, I gotta get out of here. So what we're going to do is, because my door jamb sticks out, normally if you don't have your door in, it's easy. You put your drywall in, and then all you do is just take your saw and follow along your 2x4 and cut it out. Now we got a box here we got to deal with, and sometimes, like I've got a little a router with a zip bit on it. And basically what we're going to do is I'll have to shut the power off, take this out, push the wires all the way back, and then we'll just use a zip to go all the way around it, and it'll just pop right in. Now, when you're doing drywall, and you have a door, worst thing you can do is take this piece of drywall and go straight up and make your joint right here. Because what's going to happen, and 100% of the time, it's going to crack on you. So we got to go one more stud over, and I'm going to go to here. So we're going to have to actually cut a little L here. Now you're thinking, wow, that's a waste of drywall. Well, when drywall is only $14 a sheet where I'm from, that little bit there is going to make the future a lot better for you, because then it's never going to crack. So let's get measured up here. I've got my sheet of drywall sitting here. We're going to measure this up, and we'll make a little cut here so we can get our drywall fitting. Now we're going to make a cut this way with a knife, and then we're going to have to make a saw cut this way. You'll see that in a minute. Now, when you're doing this, don't get it real tight. Give yourself 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, doesn't really matter. When you're going around some trim, you know, the ceiling we're trying to get tight because we don't want to put that much fill in there. But when you're going around the trim, the last thing you need to do is fight your drywall just because you cut it too tight. You got trim going over top of it. So if you're even 3/8 of an inch short, it's not going to make that big of a deal. Now if you watch those fancy guys that are doing it every day, they'll put their tape measure down, take their pencil and just drag it along and make that mark. But for the regular DIY guy like we are, you know what? Doesn't take too much to just take a straight edge and make a line. Okay, I've got where I've got to cut. I've marked everything out. So I'm just going to take my drywall saw and make this cut first. Now it cuts forward so that it leaves all the fuzzies at the back side. Then all we do, take our knife. The nice thing about a drywall square is it's 4 feet, so it goes all the way down to the bottom. And just give it a light score, make sure your knife's sharp. All you need is just one score. Pull your drywall back. I don't have much room here. Just give it a little kick. And then just cut it along the back side. Okay, now we're gonna cut or just take a little bit off the top here where it was, you know, low on the ceiling. Nice thing I like to do is just take the paper off first with your knife. Easier said than done, eh? There we go. Now you can do this whole thing with a knife if you want. But I prefer to use my drywall file. It's just a little rasp. And it works really fast, so it will take it off quite quickly. And then just take your fluffies off. Just like that. Now we can go test that, see if it's going to fit a little bit better. Okay, before I do all the effort of picking this board up, I made sure that I've measured where I want to plunge my router into my box. So I've taken the light switch out here, just rented it together so I got lights. And I've got a measurement here, 40 inches down from the ceiling, 10 inches from the edge. That's where I want to plunge my router, so I know exactly where to put it. Okay, we'll lift this up and see what it looks like. Where are we at here? Okay, we're a little tight on this edge because this wall's crooked. That's all right. I think that's gonna fit good though. Yeah, ceiling's gonna be fine. Just got to move the board that way, so we got to take a little bit off of that side. Doesn't have to go that far. I think that's going to be suffice. Looks good. I'm not too concerned. We got a little bit of pre-fill we have to do, but we're talking about 1/8 of an inch. I'm not going to spend my life trying to make that perfect because you just don't have to. Yeah, don't bust yourself trying to make things perfect. Nice thing about this 2x4 here, I can just leave this. Now, I'm just using my, this is made specifically for, you know, putting drywall screws in. And it's nice because it's got a little magnetic end on it. But you can buy a little dimpler, you know, to go on your drill. That really makes things way easier, because then you can get exactly how deep you want to go with your screw. You just want to break that paper surface. You do not want to go any, you don't want to break the paper. You just want to go in so that the screw head is just inside the board so that you can fill it. Any more than that, then it's going to pop on you. So we can just, and all we're going to do, that's about as tight as it's going to get there anyway. I'm just going to, now what I'm doing, I'm staying away from my box, because if I put a screw in here, it's going to bust this big chunk of drywall out of here. Just a little tiny bit of pressure here, and now we have to route out our box. Yeah, that looks good. Now you got to make sure you got a little bit of pressure on that box. You don't want the drywall away from it, because this bearing, well, it's not a bearing, it's just the outside of the bit, rides on the outside of the box. So you go on the inside, find out where it is, lift up, pop it in on the other side, and then go slowly around it. Some of those guys that really know what they're doing can just go, meow. I don't. Okay, another little rule of drywall. I did not put this screw in all the way. It was just in a little bit. But unlike this one, where it went through, you know, pierced the paper, don't go through the same hole. Now, if you're getting somebody to hold this, a couple screws is really all you need. You'd be surprised at the holding power of a couple screws. Now, I can tell you right now, this wall is going to be a little bit crooked here, but it's a basement and I can live with it. Normally on the side wall, you put about 4 screws per stud, per 4 feet, and on a ceiling, you go 5. This is going to be the next piece we're going to put on. Now, I put a scrap piece on the bottom. You should have about a 1/2 inch gap on your floor, between your floor and your drywall. That way, if any water gets on the floor, it's not going to seep up the drywall. So we'll measure that. 41 1/4. We'll come to the other side over here. 41 3/4. Hey, we're doing a basement. Don't expect everything to be straight. And then we have to measure this guy. So he's about 25 1/2. from the edge. And we'll go 19 3/4. Cut her to length first. All we'll do is just take our measurement, bring it over to here. Now, if I was cutting this sheet, the one in behind, and I was doing it backwards, because I didn't want to flip it, I'd have to make sure that it would be opposite, because it's going to have to turn, right? Because I'm doing this to the bottom, that's basically going to flip straight up, and it'll all work out good. 41 1/4. Now you just take a chalk line. Cut her down. Just clean the bottom up a little bit here. You might have noticed, remember when I put this piece on, I said this wall looked like this? I actually pushed some shims up to here because this 2x4 goes like this. And that helps a little bit. I've marked my, you don't have to mark your studs because you've got a screw in here, but on the floor I've actually got a piece of tape down so I know where my studs are. I think I'm good. But you'd never take a chance. I think what I'll do is I'll put one in on this side first. Not too tight on this side because we have our electrical outlet. But I know that I'm really nice and tight up here. One thing I didn't mention, make sure you get factory side to factory side. Don't ever put your cut side here because your drywall has a bevel. You know, you might think that's the dumbest thing in the whole world, but you wouldn't believe how many people I've seen do it wrong. So, just, you know, forewarning so you don't get it wrong. So we gotta fill this piece in here. And, you know, you just don't wheel one off of a brand new sheet unless you have a plan. and I have a plan because I've got to do the closet. So the closet's got a lot of little small spaces. Let's take a look. So this wall in the closet here is 3 feet, half an inch. So out of an 8-footer, I need 6 feet basically to do this wall. If I put this piece on here, that gives me 2 feet on my 8-footer, and that's going to be more than enough to fill that little spot in over there. So that's what we're going to do. Now I've got some 10-footers because I'm more than you know, I'm about 5 feet over here on the inside of my closet, so that's why I've got some 10-footers. You know, there are big jobs where, you know, drywallers just buy a lot of drywall and just, you know, start cutting, don't worry about scrap. But when you're a DIYer, you know, you got to look after the dollars, so do a little mapping so you know how many sheets to buy and where is that sheet going to go. Now, on a spot like this, you want to finish this up before you finish this one so you don't have to make this one fit tight. This one here, we have a little bit of wiggle room on our door here, so this one, we've got room here to do some adjusting. So this one is the one we want to do first. And you know what? Just give yourself 1/8 of an inch so it goes in nice and easy. 16 1/4. I've got this one fitting good, but I remember now when I put this one up, the ceiling goes like this. So I had to trim off a whole bunch to get this piece to fit. I put this on a long time ago. So I'm going to finish this piece off first, and then I can take a measurement and put this one in. But that's working in a basement. Don't think that things are going to go nice and smooth. I've probably cut out, I can remember now if I do my measurement, I probably had to cut out 3/4 of an inch on this corner, and same with that one down there, just to get this one to fit, because the ceiling goes like that. Alright, no worries, we'll get this one done. That one missed. Now normally I just put a few screws in. I'll have to screw this all the way because I got to put this piece in. But I'll do all my screwing later. You know, that way you can just turn the mind right off and finish it off. Get the bulk of the work done. Psychologically it helps. Now this piece here is going to go over here. You'll see that in a second. So the edge over the door goes right along here. Make sure that you've got a little bit of an L. This one's a little tight, but it'll still work because you want to use your scraps up. You know, you don't want to cut a fresh piece. So just take your saw. And then use the knife for the rest. All right, last piece of the puzzle on this corner. Now the big thing with this is we know that we have a factory bevel here and we have factory bevel here, so don't just throw any old piece of drywall in there. Make sure it has the factory bevel or your life is ruined. Won't be fun, that's for sure. And then you won't be happy with the finished product. Let's see where our studs are here. Okay, nothing there, nothing there. Finally got her done. You know, I wish I had picked a better room to do a video. This is probably the most crooked room I've ever worked in. And, you know, a guy had to do a lot of creative cuts to make everything fit. But it looks really, really good. So, I'm going to continue with this project. So the next on the list is mudding. And I'm looking forward to that. This is one of my favorite stages of any construction because, you know, things are getting done. Pretty soon you're just going to be putting baseboard in and moving in. And looking forward to it. I put this project off long enough and now I'm really, really glad I'm getting it done. So, till next time, stay tuned and thanks for watching.